Guys are too nice, too nice. But I think the desk hits on the correct spotlight, even though Ant has to drop the full name, which is tough scenes. I don't know if Cammy's been called his full name on live broadcast before, but he points to a good component, right? I mean, the two duos that came out of Toronto now to Minnesota, they really haven't been able to kind of shine the way that we saw them when they were previously with Ultra. So, I mean, where's your headspace at with this one proper? Because it kind of feels like this is a temperature test when it comes to is Atlanta FaZe in the top three? And then, I don't know, how do you frame up Minnesota? Is this kind of like a prove that you can be competitive series for you, or where your headspace at on it?
It's absolutely a proof that you can be competitive versus one of the top dogs here in the CDL for Modern Warfare 2. It's tough to say that Minnesota needs to come out in swinging in this map number 1. They're 31-49 since Cold War in their map number 1, but to win the series, you gotta have it here, you would feel.
Yeah, I like it. We'll talk more about the win conditions for Minnesota, but we're digging right on into the Fortress. Good opening break-off, honestly, for Minnesota, able to keep Atlanta a little bit at bay, maybe even provide a little confusion as BZ takes a couple shots at Simp. Right over the top, trades come out. That does favor Atlanta, and Simp off the regen, good to control the hard point. Really solid break for FaZe.
Yeah, and contesting that time as well. I mean, you can see that FaZe aren't really too minding about giving up the spawns for P2 just to make sure that they can make Rokkr feel very uncomfortable. But by doing so, they have allowed, like I was saying, Rokkr to be able to get those P2 spawns. They have control of Art, but aBeZy's still trying to make plays around top single while Slasher's still soaking up some time.
Yeah, it's a lot of time to give up for Rokkr, but at least you've gained that left side of the minimap. 5 seconds remaining of scrap. Atlanta now on rotation. A lot of it coming right through the middle of the building. But as Simp drops, everything kind of comes to a bit of a breath here as Minnesota will open up the gallows to their name. Very good control over the mid building as well. This is looking really solid. But as Slasher has Simp spawn up right in his right pocket, now you can start to get around the back with numbers. First blood good, second one on the way. You would think at least. Simp trying to clean things up. Good damage from his teammates. Tough gunfight, and Cellium provides the assistance for the deep shots. And Atlanta get the quick break too.
And it's all mostly done through the double arches is where they're going to be able to break on in towards the hard point, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have numbers and exactly comfort to be able to keep this hard point in your favor. As Attach will be able to combine for a few more. That should secure the back 25, we know, especially when it comes down to Fortress. This money hell of P3, you got to go all in for the rotation.
You're going to feel really good about this if you're Minnesota. 3 members on rotation to do already, although a lot of it cut down by BZ up top. Simp able to follow up. That will be all 3 contestants taken care of. 10 seconds of scrap time. Minnesota spawning over towards Ult. Have to kind of do the traditional setup here to try to get a break, as Atlanta will likely lock in the initial time here at 3.
And the setup is pretty good as well. You're making sure that nobody can come out of maps for free. You had aBeZy playing far forward up through P1. He's probably going to get a lot of information. This hit through double doors is going to be big.
Nades utility all landing. Cellium will drop. Now all of a sudden, Minnesota have they blocked the spawn successfully. Up top, you've got Bance just trying to hold things up, and yeah, it's gonna be a 50-50 foot race to see who gets over to Fountain first. Slasher still keeping his life, but Bance on the clearance. Oh, that's so good from Bance. But he doesn't turn to take care of Slasher, who somehow is still alive. Finally gets taken care of. Minnesota not comfortable enough to jump into the hard point, but at least they've neutralized.
30 seconds we're going to be looking at here. Atlanta FaZe, do you make the decision to try to hit this one last time, knowing that Minnesota are going to be able to build them a little in a slight cushion at that? Or do you just set up and play for a couple exits, keep them trapped in towards the back? It seems to be more of the latter rather than the former, especially with Cellium being able to take down one towards the front over by Blacksmith. So you just play mid-map here if you're FaZe. You concede this time, set up for P4.
And Bance and Cammy both having good starts so far. Cammy, the wealth of hardpoint time for Minnesota, where Bance is on 10. On the rotation, shutdown comes through. Atlanta, once again, comfortable for their opening setup. At least you would assume so. Hard to say after the Fountain kind of went awry just a moment ago. And Cellium is kind of still trying to figure out what route he wants to watch here. Nades are connecting, though. Good information. Player up top is attached. Well reasoned by with Slasher getting up top and getting involved. Afro denies. Opportunity for Minnesota to try to work their way around the back. What happens to the spawns here? Direct attention down to the minimap, and yeah, Atlanta's gonna spawn out. Minnesota further out, though. Goodness, Afro's in the complete opposite side of the map. So these last couple of Rokkr members kind of have to just finesse, wait, try to see how much they can play their lives, and it's gonna be a 3-for-1 exchange. Minnesota, a chance to take the scrap.
That entire tussle for top rails is just basically forcing Modern Warfare 2 to try to think about where these players need to spawn out in the Atlanta FaZe, like you were saying, middle of the map, and Rokkr spawning even further. I kind of gave them a little bit of a coordinated push because FaZe truly never felt like that they had numbers. That's now back-to-back hard points that FaZe have been able to rotate early. Rokkr were able to break on in, and they've been able to walk away with the majority of the times. Just a 22-point lead is what we're looking at ahead of the P5 hill.
Good control here from Cellium, making sure no one can come to the top side of the map. Has Slasher working with, while aBeZy just kind of sits idle in the hard point. Minnesota still spawning towards Ult, looking for an opportunity, looking for any way to get into the middle of the map. A couple of the kills will allow him a chance to fight through maps, but aBeZy still prone just underneath Blacksmith with Slasher watching his cross. That'll work out for at least an initial trade, but numbers start to amass now for Rocker on the break attempt. Hardpoint goes neutral, even turns purple here for a moment. Simp with the next one to call to try to get on in. aBeZy following up, and back and forth we go here on the final hill.
Sim drops down from up top, kind of shooting both his teammates and the enemies. Nice Semtex will go inside bottom single, but the Gunny will do the job for Sim. Should at least confirm a handful of more seconds, you would think, but maps control was not there. Clean as you like coming through for Rocker. Just a battle for the back 10 seconds, making it excruciatingly painful for FaZe just to be able to get over 100 points.
Yeah, neither team really even getting much more beyond double digits on this hardpoint. It just stayed contested or neutral, really, for a lot of it. But on the exit, Cammy's double will allow Minnesota a comfortable rotation over to New. And it's been a hot starting for Minnesota. You called for it, needed to see it. They've provided up until this point. But Atlanta's still within the range of possibility of, you know, doing Atlanta things and blowing this map wide open. Need to find a break here, though. Triple stack up top, attached on 4 in a row. Takes care of Slasher for the first. Double stack down low for the SMGs, trying to work their way around the back, maybe trying to overwhelm this hard point. Kills are looking decent for Atlanta on the break. 30 seconds to fight for. Cammy denies. One up top. Second one nearby was aBeZy, but he's just going to kind of delay, and this is great time for Minnesota. All of a sudden, the better part of the first 40 seconds go their way.
Yeah, break P1 immediately for Atlanta FaZe, and they're still holding on to the west side of the map as well. Being inside of Art is just so annoying that you have to deal with Cammy, who's double positive, by the way. Remember, both Nameless and you and I talking about in the green room, we needed to be able to see Cammy turn up in a big way, and you're having it here on Fortress. Now pushing up a little bit just to confirm the 5 seconds, make sure that the rotation is expensive for FaZe, finds one more mid-map, communicates to the fans who cleans up over by the Gallows.
Things starting to heat up for Minnesota with the favorite spawns for the second hard point. An apt time to send it over to Minnesota Rocker. Listen in.
Yeah, I'm going deep. I'm going to jam this one back. Yeah, okay. I'm going deep.
Wait.
Dubs, one stop. Open one shot. Then with Dubs. Go to the back, go to the base.
Win.
Maximum open, one shot. Nice. Yeah, let's go. Just run in front.
In the back, one shot.
I go. Oh, he's behind the stage, Before those, we get new. Make sure we get new. Oh, yeah, get all this time.
Get this time. Just play kills. One's gonna be like around fucking top boat or something, or P1.
Yeah.
P1 cross to gate. Definitely top boat or something.
Make it like spawn
Bench, back to the gate. Once we push up P1 somewhere.
Oh, one, hey.
Hey,
Nice, good shit.
I'll take right spawn.
He's gonna spawn out. He's gonna spawn out.
He's gonna spawn up.
Okay, let's go front then.
We got nades?
Yeah, I do.
Wait, send it over, you ready?
I'm stunned.
He's on the left, Eddie. He's on the
Yeah, one's out, remember. Across, easy,
What's top five?
close, cells close, new markers.
Yeah.
Top plat. Top right plat, one shot. Big arch.
Nice.
I got one.
Open, sip.
Prim cages. Prim cages. On the right, on the step.
Bench. Last one, dear.
Oh, he's not cages. He runs his ups. He's laying out cages.
Okay.
Laying out cages.
Tell me, maps are busy.
Last the mill.
Nice. Behind you, Ben.
We're spawning. So good. I want front still.
Where's he going?
Just make sure they can't get out, okay?
Horse. He's by horse.
I got open.
Lots to take away from that Minnesota. Listen in. Lots of awareness, lots of proactive calls, and even though they don't fully confirm the break on the third hard point here proper, that's a lot of neutral time, and I think if you're Minnesota, you consider that a win.
They're asking each other the right questions. They're communicating the right chokeholds that they need to be looking at. Do you have nades? Look at this point of interest, and also just play for kills at certain points in time. They know when to concede the map. This is a different Minnesota Rocker on a map 1 that we have not seen in quite some time. Still only 20 points is the difference, but again, Rocker have the rotation for New.
Looking solid. Numbers here towards Cannon. You've got Afro on the lurk. Oh, well done. He's found a kill right through mid-map. This is going to cause Atlanta to be in all sorts of disconjointed hit situations. Lots of individual gunfights coming for FaZe, but largely speaking, they are winning them. Bance called to action. A lot of different FaZe members in front of him, but deals with the first 2, no worries. And that's going to keep Atlanta, again, away from getting the full break. Can't quite get into the hard point yet. And now Minnesota have numbers off the respawn and a chance for them to kind of regain the zone that they were looking for off this initial time and still fight for the back 30 seconds relatively without much contest really whatsoever until maybe FaZe work through the front, but Afro pressured out. Gets the double, aBeZy, last one in his way. Bance trying to just keep things neutral, and this is going to be Minnesota retaining the 40-point lead they've built.
It's just back-to-back P4s here on Fortress that Rocker just always have one player at top rails that is just so annoying. Yeah, Bance gets traded out there, but I mean, it's just consolation time, just 3 seconds, and Atlanta FaZe aren't even going to be able to soak that up. And with them having that positioning over by P4, they've allowed Rocker to essentially spawn in over by P3, so they'll have maps in their favor. They're trying to flood out over by P1. How long can FaZe keep them trapped over here?
Awareness is good. aBeZy does take down 2 before Minnesota will finally break out of the trap, and oh boy, breakout they have. Kills coming quickly, but the stun allows Simp to essentially just play his own life without much help needed. Minnesota once again spawning from the unfavored side. Atlanta digging into the deficit. Now just down 20 points with still 30 to fight for here on Blacksmith. Stun's not quite connecting. Cellium watching his compadre just from the outside archeries. Well, now here comes the hit attempt. Best look for Minnesota to try to work their way in. Simp tagged down low, eventually traded out, and it'll be cut just short of 200 points as Minnesota flip the hill.
We'll flip the hill, just looking from the outside in. Let's go ourselves for an Atlanta phase. Listen in.
I'm gonna go block. They think go bottom mark, guys.
On the truck.
I'm hold left.
One left.
I'm your bottom mark.
Left. P2, one shot, Vance.
Staying down.
He's going back P2. He's going back P2.
I'm not just out there.
That's one.
No, he's not.
One shot. Absolute. Absolute gate dead.
Are you tired of your bench right now?
One arm, me.
Gimme. Weak. Another in the back, in the
Nice.
Top boat flat.
I need to.
I got naded.
Bottom
He
secret.
shot me under.
Bring spawn minus MC.
Secret. Time.
For maps.
Heal me. I'm stuck, Chris. I'm
Nice. One shot there. Top boat man.
I'm your secret. MC on you weak.
Top boat.
Guys. Oh, both still.
Oh, bottom R2. They spawned P5.
You think not quite enough time for Atlanta to win here, especially as Vance secures the killing spree. 5 in a row for Minnesota in the favored spot here, going over to Gallows proper. Pressure on for Atlanta, trying to break.
They're fighting transitional gunfights through the middle of the map as well. Sim trying to decide which way do they want to try to work their way inside of boat, and they're able to get the jump up, and they're able to take down Vance. So forward positioning, advancing for Atlanta phase. Just 10 more points needed.
They need every single individual gunfight to come their way. Simp on the way for 4 in a row. Shut down by Attach. One of the last ones left remaining, and maybe that's all you need. 2 players from Minnesota have to find a way to touch. aBeZy off the regen, stuck in the corner though. Vance able to secure the trade. It stops at 246. Cellium trying to single-handedly get it done himself. It's a 1v2 for the point, but waiting for help. And help has arrived, but maybe not in time. Semtex denies Atlanta entry. Attach furthers the point. It's all got to be from the front. 246 to 246. Attach trying to spam things up. Vance watching the cross. It's 248 to 246. Cellium not quite able to break. It has to be Slasher, and he's not quite able to secure the kills. Minnesota, hold on and steal away map 1.
Little pop-up for Afro right there at the end. Attach stands up. Vance also just shaking his head. Take a deep breath there, Benjamin Vance, because that was a crazy performance there on the Fortress map number 1 for so many different reasons. I mean, from such a bigger sample pool for Minnesota comparatively to the 2 times that Atlanta played it, we knew coming into this that Minnesota were going to be better on breaks. They were going to be better on the rotation for sure. But to be able to do it versus Atlanta phase, even right here at this point in time towards the end, this is the final moments. Vance is 31 and 27. You want to talk about having trust over with your ARs to make sure that Vance can continuously make this plays? Stand up, take a bow. This guy went off.
Absolutely the case. At this moment right here, you think Cellium's going to force himself into the 1v2. Just tries to contest, but Attach staying alive. Afro making sure he can kind of get a read on where Atlanta are hitting from. And oh, okay. Well, we didn't see that first time around. But man, wall bangs all abound. But that little double from Vance at the end forces Cell to be without numbers. And then the final kind of 1v1. Attach stays alive for an eternity. But yeah, the subs, you call it correctly there, bud. Afro and Vance alike just kind of saving the day a number of times when Atlanta looked like they were getting the kills they needed to break.
It's like the stage, as much as you can wall bang it, with Attach staying alive and being able to get that trophy down, Cellium couldn't get the nade over top of it to confirm either the elimination or to be able to get a touch out from that god spot on the backside of stage. It's allowed so many other individuals from Minnesota to push it all the way up. 35 and 29 for Vance. 23 of those 35 non-traded for about 3,900 damage. Are you kidding me? Where has this Vance been map 1 all year?
I don't know, but I'm here for this. If this is the Minnesota we're going to see from here on out. Oh my, what a map number 1 it is. And it's a team effort. That's the other thing, you know, kind of the question that's asked about this Minnesota squad is where is it going wrong? Because at the moment, there are great individual kind of plays that start to happen, but it felt like the team was just not quite vibing, not quite clicking, especially kind of coming after Major 1 and Rally. But I guess you shake off food poisoning, and this is the Minnesota that we get. But here's the thing, this is still a tough series for Minnesota. But when we talk about how does Minnesota find a way to quote unquote upset Atlanta, you have to look at the respawns first and foremost because Atlanta's search is looking real polished.
And they did it really well via the vetoes as well, taking away the embassy hardpoint away from Atlanta FaZe. That is their #1 hardpoint map without any question whatsoever. And being able to then confirm that fortress control as well. I mean, we knew Atlanta were going to end up taking away the LSC because Minnesota are 5-0 on it, for crying out loud. But it's going to have to be through the respawns. The search and destroy, I mean, let's keep it a buck here, man. Hey, it's not been good for Minnesota at all. In Atlanta, they have been the ones that you have been looking at to be able to take away the search and destroy. But we were quite impressed with Minnesota through that map #1. Almost ready to write it off as far as a win condition is concerned. Who's to say they can't impress us through another map?
And here's the other thing about Minnesota's search and destroy, that guy right there. You think you start to look at Hotel, how often could Attach possibly pull out a sniper rifle to kind of, keep a Beezy at arm's reach? Because he's the #1 search and destroy KD at a 1.5 plus. On offense, he's a huge menace, as he often is, just getting up into your face and completely stealing away the map right from the word go. So, I mean, we talk about players like Cammy needed to pop up. Bance possibly also needed to kind of throw his weight around the rink, and so far they were able to provide. But how much do you look to Attach, possibly trying to flex between multitude of weapons here on this search and destroy to kind of give different looks to Atlanta to make life difficult?
There's only so many places, especially on Hotel Search, you can probably pull out a boomstick, right? I mean, you can go for the bottom luggage push. You can maybe just try to get a little freaky with some different areas on the map to where you can be able to thwart that line of sight, but Abiz is just going to be flying at you constantly. I mean, 22% of rounds, he's #1 as far as what was concerned of getting first blood. He's winning opening duels 60% of the time. That's #5 in the league. The guy has made a name for himself doing that in search and destroy continuously, that it basically comes down to not only just shutting down a BZ by way of gunshots alone, maybe with a sniper rifle, your attacks also need to be on point. You need to start understanding where a BZ is going to be hitting these routes from and just throw preemptive attacks, especially through a lot of these different alleyways and fixtures that offer us on Hotel.
And there's the visual representation of all those numbers. I mean, that's just so impressive. Every single one of those stats. Whew. Hard to deal with. Something that we came to know and love back during really the United time, transitioned really nicely into the CDL era as well. He's a headache, that much is for sure. But here we go. Hotel search and destroy. Minnesota on the opening offense, looking to just feel things out by the usage of utility through mid. It's a double stack over through B though. So you talk about Abiz, he needed to kind of be asked to provide some assistance and maybe some information. He is getting tested early, and Minnesota seemed to think that they've got an idea here where it comes to maybe trying to push this bomb a little bit further up.
Keep in mind, Cammy stunned early, didn't hit anything over by the host stand, so they think that this is completely vacant. Cellium still seeing players, especially over by the double arches, have yet to connect with any shots, but information's just as important. As Attach, speaking of information, he's pushed up over by D2. He doesn't see a soul over here for FaZe.
Oh, look at this for FaZe, though. I mean, their only way to check this A bomb site is off this cross. There's the double peek. Nate's also still being held onto. Simple toss. The Semtex, it will not connect. Slasher trying to get forward. Didn't like the look of it, so backs away. 35 seconds on the clock. And it's kind of, what's going to break first here? Do you look to Bance to hit the flank? Or do you try to just force a plan on if you're Minnesota, who do have bedroom control? Atlanta taking a pre-fire shot. Sip. Oh, he's caught Bance. That's trouble now for Minnesota, just like that. First blood is exchanged. We go to a 3v3, but is there enough space to get this bomb planted? It's being stuck. Afro from the catwalk. It's 2, and it all rests now with Sip as the bomb's planted for a 1v3. Long-range shots shut him down.
Wow.
And Minnesota, that's great recovery.
That is fantastic recovery. Talk about discipline. First, you have players, that 2-player stack you were talking about through Restaurant, just trying to maybe see if B push can maybe be the rotation, especially round 1, where no trophy systems are early, but it's this play for Afro. You wait so long in the round. I mean, the bomb doesn't start getting planted until 16 seconds, and that buys Afro enough time to be able to charge up Dead Silence, hit through top catwalk out of bedroom, and find 2 players lurking inside of couches, because the last known information was from Bance going down all the way over by the atrium. He was able to get a decent amount of information, and as smart as Afro is, you got to give the guy some credit. Pops out from top cat, makes the play.
Atlanta's first offense now 2-2 split right off the rip, with some real far forward push coming out of both these 2 members over in kitchen area. Abizi zoning off the bottom side of the double doors over towards backside Ballet Halls, but it's Minnesota through the middle of the map, and it's not just 1, it's 2 members that are here. Afro secures first blood freely. Abizi able to exchange, but still the numbers retain as Rocker go back and forth into a 3v2.
Now the bomb's dropped over by the display cases by the A site. You can see on the mini-map, Abizi, Sim, Tiny Terrors trying to couple along together to at least get these trades. Abizi will find 1, has to get 2 more to secure the round for FaZe.
It'd also be the ace for this technical 1v3. Dead Silence going to expire here soon. Can he catch Cammy, though, before it fades away? Oh, they've seen each other now. Cammy is just not interested in any form in this gunfight. He's just, Vance, can you come help, please? A little SOS. And a little double stack will push aBeZy back, but it does allow an opportunity for him to find a gap, get over, possibly get this bomb for a quick plant. Just comes down to, does he feel confident enough to make that commitment? Looks like he wants to play for a first kill. The timing is not going to work out. Now he's got the intel on him, plus the damage, and Rocker will confirm. How about this start for Minnesota?
The 2-2 split for FaZe is kind of interesting, right? Because they conceded all of Atrium. They gave up the middle of the map, and that allowed Afro to push all the way up through the double arches, be able to lay on their belly, catch players trying to rotate back over towards shops, and then Bance was able to come all the way essentially through the lobby and the help desk over there to be able to get the bomb carrier and drop it over by the display case. From there on out, it really was Atlanta FaZe splitting the map. It was the story that kind of fell to the round for them as a whole, but can never count Atlanta FaZe out. What they've made a name for themselves is adapting through the later rounds.
Yeah, but I will say, Minnesota kind of hold the mental chess advantage at the moment. A lot of things that Atlanta will need to consider. And they're throwing a curveball of their own here are the defensive FaZe. Aggressive through the middle of the map, looking for the cross on A. It's Selim who's kind of keeping Slasher safe at mid, which means that aBeZy with this tack is on an island by himself. And there are Minnesota members nearby. I was going to say the timing of this not going to work out. Bance catches him out. And now the defense is hard pressed. How do you get over to even defend this B site? Because you don't know how many Rocker members are here.
Yeah, because aBeZy only saw the one. So now you just had to try to hold Atrium. I mean, the last time that this ended up going down, Atlanta FaZe were able to find a trade, but all of Minnesota completely committed over towards A. So they're going to leave attached behind. Maybe look through Statue, look through the middle of the map where Atlanta FaZe are located at. Minnesota very quickly rotating. Going to start planning here at B.
How do you set up this post plant? Do you exit towards restaurant and allow attach an opportunity to get into the play? Or do you bunker and float on a hood?
Huh?
Okay.
That's a very sturdy ventilation fan.
I'll say that much. Attach, oh, that's actually brilliant for him to go 1 for 1 there. Intel that there's for sure one more on the flank. Can Selim do it himself from the backside over towards Tiki side? Well, he's going to have to now do it all himself, and this is just so good for Minnesota. I can't even begin to express.
It's systematic, isn't it? I mean, they're dissecting the map through the opening 25 seconds. They're able to find first blood. It was Bance who, again, he did have some help over by the double arches, but aBeZy never got that information. So everybody for FaZe that were closer towards bedroom, closer towards couches, they just kind of hold the line because the rotation could have been back over towards the A bomb side. It could have gone over towards B. You have to almost guess 50-50, just play a couple for these rotational areas of the map to where maybe you could try to marginalize losing that first blood affair. And it just does not happen. The post plant, absolutely sublime for Minnesota. Bance on a 4.
Cammy just behind him on a 3. Defense holding back just a touch here. Afro looking for the cross. Confirms that aBeZy is going to be essentially putting pressure up towards Attach, who will back away. A lot of concession here for Minnesota. How does he win that gunfight while stunned? aBeZy had every right and maybe even the deed to win that property, let alone the elimination, but it's Minnesota who get first blood for free. Now Atlanta is kind of stuck on the A side. Can they even get the bomb out?
I don't even know if Slasher has a clean exit. They're more worried about a player maybe poking out from top bedroom, if not over by couches. And Afro is over here. He's got Dead Silence. The potential to make a play is on. But on the other side, Simps popped Dead Silence. He's trying to make a play over by the host stand. Selim will even things up. 3v3.
Looks like Minnesota are just going to concede the potential plant and have to play retake. Very worried about the threat of the flank possibly coming out of Selim, but he's held his ground. Bomb being planted. Does Afro get the shoulder check? He sure does. It scares him off the plant. 27 seconds on the clock. Now Dead Silence for Afro, who's repositioned to once again watch this cross. Bomb carrier drop. That's Bance at range. Who confirms it? This is a key 1v1 for Atlanta. It's not going to come through. What is happening? Simp, 1v2. Not going to get the bomb down. 4-0 up Minnesota. Great heavens.
Oh my goodness. Again, you would feel like this round completely flips on his head if Afro doesn't find that first blood versus aBeZy. He gets the first blood versus the first blood king, and then he's just allowed to play his life continuously because there's no way you're going to try to fly and contest for bottom bed, top bedroom, especially with where Afro is just so aloof. 7-1 now for Afro. Bance also able to be right there to confirm off of Afro's information that Slasher denied the bomb plant, especially with the elimination coming through from the mid map. Minnesota are just so good right now at keeping their numbers one away from getting a cruise missile as Benjamin Vance.
And they could just throw whatever they want at Atlanta right here with this cushion. Stuns between the archways. A lot of an opening engagement happening here right outside of the restaurant. Everyone survives to tell the tale. Abizi, first blood, traded by Bans. Trying to get the reload off, but not able to. But back and forth we go still. Early 2v2. Still a lot of time on the clock, but Semtex just catches Cammy before he can get away. Now the bomb is down and is attached. V2.
I see Simp over top, just a little bit too late. Goes for the jump, can't reposition in time. And as you were saying, I mean, with a 4 lead cushion like that, yeah, you could essentially just try to throw everything out the window and see what sticks first. And this initial push had, again, 2 players through the middle of the map, maybe trying to find first blood. But Atlanta FaZe, we've seen this from them so many different times, so many different Call of Duties as well with these players, that when they're down, they just start getting a little bit more hyper-aggressive, trying to fish out for these first bloods. They completely stuff Minnesota on that offensive attempt.
And that's just the mentality of Atlanta saying, no, we're not going to back down and play your game. Like, we're still going to play our search and destroy and establish our identity on the map. A lot of discipline to make that call, but you've got to get it done on offense. That's the problem here, down 3 still. Abizi trying to get forward. Has Afro seen him? It's a double stack with Afro and Attach working together. Attach worried about the threat. Cruise missile called in. Abizi has to start forward, and in that moment, Afro once again gets the opening change off first blood. Will not connect. We stay 3v3, but watch out for Simp with that sounds. He's moving all the way around the back, and he can absolutely blow up this A defense.
He's up top. That silence, it's run out. Has Afro heard him? He also pops that silence. Simp is trying to find this kill, get some shots. Not expecting 2 players down here, but they weren't expecting Simp to drop down. Now the reach out should confirm it. Yeah, there it is. Bance, 1v3. Good luck, have fun, brother.
2 bullets left for him to take that jump shell. Talk about confidence that you've hit enough shots to confirm the elimination. Bance stun opens the door. Nearly catches the bomb planter, but now the job becomes that much more difficult. 1v3, 35 seconds. Has dead silence into Semtex if he wants it. Gonna see if he can maybe scout something on this long cross. He does find Slasher, but not enough connecting to find the elimination with it. And that may be the end of the hopes towards trying to pull this 1v3 off. Just 17 seconds left. And he does not want to pop the dead silence. So this is just going to be seeing what kills possibly find. The answer will be none. Atlanta back in it.
Besting the cruise missile, but not the dead silence. You just don't want it to be more expensive into this next round, right? You just don't want to make sure that Atlanta FaZe are ultimately feeling themselves truly. But again, it's Simp. As you were calling there, Shift, he makes the play via dead silence across the catwalk. He gets inside top bed and thought it was just 1 down low. Pops down, finds the first, and then the 2 bullets is all really Simp needed to be able to get that final kill down there to force out the 1v3. But Atlanta FaZe, again, as you were saying, just trying to play their search and destroy, won't be dissuaded from their aggressive ways and trying to deny the map from Rocker.
Heavy defense for Atlanta. Towards bedroom side, looking for some opening engagements towards A, and Slasher actually does get an opening engagement. I don't know if it's the one he wanted, but it's the one he got. Afro secures first blood, and all of a sudden, FaZe kind of have to scramble. I mean, that's your main AR, essentially, watching over that entire cross. Celium has to reposition. Simp has to try to hope you can hit something, and, well, the stun Semtex combo does connect, but Celium getting pushed out of bedroom. Just team shots galore from Minnesota. Now the only opportunity for Atlanta to get back into this round, you think, is off of either Simp or Abizi coming around the back.
They isolate themselves. I mean, Simp, it's on 5 here, man. So he's going to be trying to get that 6 kill. A cruise missile would be instrumental for a few rounds later down the line. Pops open this door. The timing could be impeccable to be able to stop the bomb player. Talk about the coverage from Attach. Abizi, 1v4.
It's great help, and Abizi was tagged up at the exact same moment, so this has become a job that, once again, we list as pretty much an impossibility, and so it will be. Minnesota. I mean, was the food poisoning really that much of a nerve? Because this is some of the best surge we've seen in a minute from anybody in the CDL.
It's either that or they had an amazing dinner ahead of this matchup, because they are just frying. The teamwork is just at an all-time high. Even just completely covering all of the bomb site itself, just fully expecting that bedroom is going to be the point of contact. They had players looking at the bottom. Afro confirmed from the stun that Simp threw from couches, knew that there was going to be a player poking through mid. They just didn't back down. Map point here for Minnesota to take a 2-0 lead in the series.
Afro at 9-3. How about Slasher still on a donut 0-5? Talk about the duality of man right there. Bomb left over towards mid, 2-2 split for Atlanta, and Minnesota's gonna make a gut check call to stack towards B. They had not seen a lot of utility thrown over towards A. That is by design, as Atlanta is not hard focused towards either direction, but yeah, Minnesota are gonna realize, okay, we haven't heard utility anywhere. We may need to second guess this early rotation.
Sims pushing up. He's essentially over by Ruggs. Potential for him to go up through top catwalk, and yeah, there he goes. We'll find first blood on Afro. What do you do here if you're Minnesota now?
Hope that somebody can go 1 for 2. Whether that's Cammy by himself on B, or Bance maybe up close off of intel from attached towards A. The bomb is now picked up, rotating back over towards the A site. Simp still waiting for a flank, which he may get the contact he wants, but maybe not the timing. Oh no, right as soon as the dead sounds is popped. And wait a second, Atlanta's made the call to join Simp here. So now this becomes a little bit of an issue because of the clock, although Cammy throwing shoulders has them blown right off, and now BZ can watch these defenders cross through their spawn. Semtex lands, and a great read over through the fire pit up middle. Atlanta hanging on, if only just narrowly.
The head's just barely above water here, our Atlanta phase, but it's just one of those things, man. You can never really count phase out because they are just so good, but even more so than that. Tough timing to say the least, but at least the help for FaZe that time around after Simp got blooded inside of the restaurant was very quick. It's just a little over shoulder throw, perhaps for Cammy. Didn't get the immediate information, just got eviscerated off the shoulder throw initially. It's one of those things, again, that Simp has been doing that quite often defensively. You would feel like that Minnesota, if it goes to another defensive round, they need to shut it down.
Agreed. Slasher on the board. Similar defense here for Atlanta, where you got Celium watching Slasher's back while he watches to make sure no one crosses into Simp's face. Abizi with the tack out. This time he does collect first blood. Bance with the trade does force FaZe to start to move around a little bit defensively. But in a 3v3, Minnesota still have to figure out exactly what the defense looks like here today before they can commit.
Both Celium and Simp, who pops that silence, starts maneuvering back over towards B after losing Abizi on that restaurant area. Just maybe assuming that that's where the push is going to be coming from. They would be wrong. Cammy still holds the bomb in their back pocket. They're slowly moving through A. The Slash has been holding this cross. Nice stun.
And Simp and Bance are dancing with each other. Bance off screen will confirm a key elimination. And now Slasher's got really no help besides just selling him around him. Another stun will confirm that Slasher is indeed here. Bomb planted. Has to be a 2v3. Dead silence not here yet for Slasher. Tough gunfight versus Bance off the stairs heady. And while it's down to the Vanguard MVP, 1v3. 27 seconds on the clock. He's not going to get a look at anything until he commits. Cammy says, hey, how you doing? Minnesota is up 2-0 in the series. No, do not adjust your monitor. This is happening.
This is a different beast of Minnesota Rocker that we have not seen through 2 maps worth of play in a best-of-5 series, and I don't even know how long. I don't even know what stat we could even pull to be talking about that. 2-0 the lead for Rocker after a systematic P2 hold to confirm the hard point, and an even better opening for a search and destroy. 4-0 lead ends at 6-3. This team is playing at an all-time high, and one player in particular, you know, we were putting a lot of focus on a Cammy to really show up in a big way, and to be fair, he is, but the one player that's able to then produce further off of Cammy's excellence in the past 2 maps at 6 and 4 is Bance. 9 and 4, 1,200 damage to their name as well. 6 non-traded kills out of the 9. I mean, this guy was just about everywhere that he needed to be at the right places at the right time to either confirm first blood, find the trades required to be able to keep Minnesota in favor of numbers.
I don't think there was a single round in there that you could look at from Atlanta's perspective off of first blood to say they secured the kill and got out. Like, I don't think there was a single moment where there was a 4v3 for more than maybe 10 seconds for Atlanta. Yeah, that's a really good shout there, bud. So now all of a sudden, what do we talk about? It's 2-0 up Minnesota, a fortress control. I mean, we were looking at this series saying it had to get done maybe in the 1-3-4, but a bit of a buffer now all of a sudden established with Minnesota taking away a search and destroy. A lot of things to consider here as far as how exactly can Atlanta bounce back after a big surprise. We'll send things off to a break and be back with map number 3. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back there, friends and family, and a little look into the Minnesota Rocker and the winter solstice up in Eagan, Minnesota. I'm telling you, Brett and Jenna, they know how to throw a party, and you have to believe that all of these Rocker fans that continue to just grow, it feels like exponentially, are having a great time looking at this currently 2-0 scoreline between them and what a lot of people would consider to be possibly a maybe league or stage favorite in Atlanta FaZe. Just give me reactions at this point.
I mean, I can only imagine that 10 is probably just more vibey. It's going to get rowdy as well because, yeah, this Minnesota team has been going buck wild crazy, and now they actually go into a game mode that they have been rather confident in towards a fortress control, no less. If you think about a 3-2 here for Minnesota, 1-1 for FaZe. And the reason how we got here is that with the coin flip and how it works for vetoes, Minnesota got rid of the hotel control. That's where FaZe's wheelhouse truly is. So you don't want to take them to LSCLO. Minnesota are completely unfazed there. And now you have to do it here on Fortress where you think it's going to go round 5.
And it's just been shutdowns from really top to bottom on the side of Minnesota. We talked about shutting down aBeZy in the search and destroy, but the simple fact of the matter is Cellium, who is your #1 KD leader in the CDL, he's only pulling a .83 in this series, and it hasn't been because of one player or another. Minnesota's just playing good team Call of Duty. Back into it. Minnesota Rocker, Atlanta FaZe, control Fortress. Let's get it on.
Offense first for Atlanta. This opening breakoff means everything. We saw that in the Ultra Optic match. Even trades coming across the board will keep things rather even. That's more dangerous than it is anything for Atlanta FaZe. You could be caught in the spawn trap for what feels like forever, but they break on out. They have not expected Bance to come back through the gate, or have they? Cellium has the read, but Bance gets the kill.
First tick of progress, not yet locked yet. Simp confirming a trade, trying to help out his teammate in Slasher, who's currently just stuck in the back of this truck. Has to make the play and just simply overwhelmed. aBeZy has kind of found a gap, though. Snuck up in towards the top side of boat by the look of it. That could lead to an opportunity to keep the door open, at least to get off spawn here if you're Atlanta. Bance is still trying to figure out how exactly do I deal with aBeZy in this position, especially if it's by myself. Stun comes through, and well, it does connect, but unfortunately it also connects with him. That nade's also not really all that great. Won't connect with them, so you have to take the gunfight. aBeZy predicts it, but doesn't make much of a difference. And in that whole exchange, Minnesota confirming kills and depleting the progress on A. This has been a flawless recovery for the Rocker.
It was just a great call for Bance to wait for Cammy's help to go for the bait and switch. Yeah, Cammy goes down, but Bance confirms the elimination. Attached now with the submachine gun. Haven't seen this in quite some time. Got himself on a 5 streak as well. He's just dictating the pace here inside maps. Could find kill 6 here.
You don't have to do anything too crazy. 20 seconds on the clock. Just don't give Atlanta a second to breathe. You can see they're searching for him. They know Attach is nearby. Kill 6 is in, and the crossfire is brilliant. Put him in the blender. Cellium also drops. And just as we saw a bunch of flawlessness between Toronto and Texas in the previous matchup, Minnesota took a while for them to get established, but once they did, whoo, mercy.
And the only showcasing that they really had was almost like shades of the Fortress map #1. You got Slasher stuck inside the truck. Everybody's being traded off across through mid-map, inside of maps as well. And aBeZy kind of slips the net, obviously gets top boat, but I mean, it's just a consolation placing on the map. There's really no positional advantage for aBeZy having a sub there besides just taking a lot of focus away. But so long as you deal with the players on the zone, you can start enforcing that spawn trap. What a great run there for Attach to be able to get a cruise missile off the first defense.
Could be instrumental towards just finding a tick of progress. I mean, you saw the statistic, Minnesota 92% on their defense. If this thing does go to round 5, you start to feel real good about a very huge surprise 3-0. Long route to get there, though, especially with aBeZy confirming the first 2 kills. Attach still live on 6 in a row. We'll hopefully be able to get a little bit further forward here. If you can get up to that mid-map area, watch the cross, maybe there's a chance to provide space for your teammates to get out of spawn, but easier said than done, especially against Atlanta FaZe. Simp eventually will be dropped out, but the defense could still move forward with the numbers.
Uncharacteristically for Simp here on control, even what happened last week. 0.63 overall on the Fortress control. 3 and 6 overall, but the spawn trap is starting to get sunk on in, but maps control is there for Minnesota. They have broken out. Look at Bance on the mini-map, Alan.
All trades looking decent. Minnesota taking their focus to bottom hard, and the SMGs are lighting things up. Spawns for Atlanta over towards A, but it's Rocker focused on the B zone. Stack is in, 2 players large. First tick of progress on the way. Cellium trying to clear, gets the first. Can they get the second in time? No. It's going to be the first tick of progress locked in, and Afro off the quick pinch. That could lead to not just the second tick of progress, it's a full wipe. In Minnesota, they're going to get the full B zone.
Got 60 seconds out on towards the board. Afro's on a 4 spree. He's going to get stunned up. If he can find this elimination on aBeZy, it would be absurd. Won't be able to get it. But the confirmation of the B zone is everything. And Minnesota, albeit a very slight life lead, now dwindled down to just even Stevens. You're going to be feeling pretty darn confident with yourself. You just got to break out of the spawn trap one more time and get yourself on that A zone. That'll force all of Atlanta FaZe to spawn over by B.
Whoa, Cammy on 5 HP takes care of Cell. Simp still a problem up top. But Cammy off the regen and Afro confirming the kill. Oh, goodness. Cammy nearly just done it to him. 17 plays 15. Long route from Vance. Good read on towards Simp, but doesn't quite connect. Pillar stays in their way. The tree's also a big deterrent, and Simp wins the gunfight. And that'll lead to Atlanta once again establishing some control here, but don't throw away the opportunity of Minnesota possibly still winning this on lives. We still have 52 seconds on the mark.
Yeah, you'd almost feel like that it's probably not going to come down to kills. Time would probably be the biggest adversary for Minnesota, but even before that, their first big boss is getting out from this spawn trap. They were able to at least deal with one player inside a map, so they know that that positioning is in their favor. Cellium just lurking through mid-map, checking under the truck, going to be looking back up as well. Even when Bance tries to create more space, he gets gutted in the middle of the map.
Minnesota still trying to work their way back through the archways. This is taking a lot of time, and it's costing a lot of lives. Afro does sneak through, but Cellium wants to make sure that off spawn, Minnesota feel the pressure, feel the heat. 17 seconds. Does anything work out for Minnesota? Just two defenders that are on the zone. That may be all they need, although Cellium drops. Numbers now starting to amount for Minnesota. They could possibly get on to try to stall this clock out. Simp called forward, and it works out nicely. 3 seconds to go. Afro long range, denied. And similarly so, Cammy will not have a chance to get to the double doors. Atlanta survived, but damage dealt by Minnesota.
Yeah, Nate, they say this really does have shades of Gavutsu control back in Vanguard. You're going to be tussling for zone segments continuously because you know you want a round 5 defense. It is so rare on an Al-Bagr Fortress control to be able to win offensive rounds, that we have seen it a handful of times here at the CDL level, regardless of the matter. Minnesota being able to confirm the B zone fully, they will have that tick progression advantage. Atlanta need to answer back in a big way in this upcoming offense.
3 is the lucky number that they need to be able to match if there were to be some sort of a toggle or vie for that round 5 defense. And Atlanta is going to full flood over through Blacksmith. The only defender that's actually here is Vance. He doesn't really have a lot of help either. Afro's trying to get there to save the day, but just before the full breach comes through, Vance takes down Simp, and Abizi's route through mid-map gets cut down. And it leaves Atlanta with really not much to work with whatsoever. Only a single life spent for Minnesota on their opening defense.
Yeah, couldn't have asked for better opening engagements. BZ Slasher able to find 2 more. That opens up the stable side, but they would never expect Afro with a Vaznev of all things. 17-7 for the kid, for crying out loud. Kind of breaks their own camera there with Cellium in the door, but regardless, they are just dictating the pace in the middle of the map, just under 40 seconds.
And that 17th elimination that you called for was a key one. It stops Atlanta from being able to fully force forward and allows Minnesota off spawn to once again set things up. Double sub play. Cammy with Vaznev and Have. Only gets 1. So numbers start to come through for FaZe. Back and forth trades come out. And Atlanta, you have to make a decision here. Do you want to try to full force over towards B, or do you try to cut back through it? Oh my goodness, no. Afro is spawning with Atlanta right now. Slasher will be cut down. Abizi was the last one left to try to stall the clock out over towards B, but a double from Simp maybe provides Atlanta a chance to get his zone. Again, that tick progress that we need to see is at least 3. Cammy stopping reinforcements, 6 life advantage, but as Slasher denies, first tick's looking pretty possible. Afro and Attach working for the regain. This will be a 2v many situation, and it may be all they need. Trades are decent though for Atlanta. First tick gets locked. Looking for the second. Minnesota has to be very cautious about how you want to try to play retake here. You don't want to give away the round in full. Stuns are connecting. Second tick locked in. Third one on the way. Here comes Minnesota for their break attempt. Or are they? Are they going to get here to touch in time? There's the contest, but Slasher finds the kills and adds 60 seconds to the clock.
Only a 3 life deficit. Slasher will take down Bance. Good team shots in between AR duos there over by Maps. You just got to make sure you don't succumb into another spawn trap here. That's what kind of plagued Minnesota after they captured the B zone of their previous offense. The Slasher needs to stay alive. See some footsies on the other side of the truck as well. Will take down Cammy, and you have presence over by Stables.
2 Rocker defenders trying to flush Slasher out from this position. He's currently still stuck in the back. Attach finally gets the gunfight. Abizi working towards single control, and that's a big kill. Bounces right back out. Now down in towards Art. Also finishes off Bance. Numbers now for FaZe. But it's still an 11v7, and more importantly, there's only 28 seconds left in the clock. Have to make a play on towards the B zone. Minnesota here with all 4 members ready to defend. They still have a cruise missile if they need to get out of jail free card as well. Abizi off the reload, waiting for help. It's going to be coming from the way of Simp, who's got dead silence in. This is the play that has to open the doors to get on towards B. Can they find Minnesota, though, at all? I mean, no one from Rocker are even showing themselves. 6 seconds on the clock. 9v6 to call. Abizi around the back. May have to do it all himself. Towards the zone he goes. It stops at 1.3. The pre-fire, good. But off the reload, can he stay alive? Has to get onto the zone and just not quite able to get over the ledge. Minnesota escape into the round.
It's so tough. I mean, you can contest from that little half wall, but if you drop down, obviously that is no longer on the zone. And what a great call coming through from Minnesota. Look, you're able to read the room or read the fortress, I suppose, and you're able to recognize I got a life lead. We just have to make sure we deny any segments going over towards the B zone. So they just turtle up all the way in towards the back. Almost look like a P2 hardpoint hold at certain points in time there on Bagra Fortress. But they get the job done. Do Atlanta. They're able to find 3 segments. If things stay tied up here, you just have to be able to outslay your opponents. Much easier said than done when Afro is 21 and 12.
Now opening frag grenade, it doesn't just kill a Taj. I think it tagged the majority of Minnesota members that were trying to make this play through the North Stables. BZ trying to get onto awning. Denied, but Simp secures the trade. Kills favor that of Atlanta FaZe. 3 for 1 it goes. Nades and stuns keep Simp a little bit further out. But for the side of Minnesota, I mean, they're just waiting for a gunfight. They're waiting to see if Atlanta will make the first step forward, and that's what they're going to use as a chance to try to get out of spawn.
Only lost 3 lives to the 1. Trying to find your first point of interest is going to be Cammy taking down Simp over by the gate. Now, there will be an immediate trade if Abizi swings, but you got to respect this disciplined call that's coming through from Atlanta FaZe. Just, you know, Minnesota's trapped over here. Every single angle is being watched right now.
Brother, have they done the quick maths?
Are they?
Minnesota may have
they're
done
playing
the math
like it.
to say that they know they have the kills. What a call.
This is bold.
I mean, it's bold to say the least. And I think Atlanta are starting to realize, wait a second, we need to go get kills. And maybe every elimination may matter. So Abizi and the rest of Atlanta kind of have to break into P3 almost is what it's going to feel like. Kills are defense for Slasher. Now has Atlanta done the math and said, wait a second, now we've got the kill tally. Is this just all a battle of wits? Atlanta are still trying to push forward. Minnesota's still feeling pretty confident in their kill tally. And the last set of exchange does favor Rocker. We'll see who got their advanced PhD in mathematics. Safro's going to laugh that one off, though.
It's a battle of addition. I don't have my TI-83 Plus calculator with me here on my desk, Alan, so I did not do the maths for us to be able to figure it out. But, I mean, again, a bold call from Minnesota to really respect the math to come all the way through. Atlanta having themselves a chuckle. Easy laughing it up. Almost got a full smile out of there from Selim. Very rare sighting, especially when it comes down to Atlanta FaZe playing a match here in the CDL. So what's the drum roll gonna be here? You definitely want defense. Obvious choice at that when it comes down to fortress control. Minnesota really went all in to make sure that they had that numbers advantage, and it will be the case indeed. Minnesota, they did the math homework, Alan. They got defense.
What a world we live in. All right, Atlanta. It's not just going to be a certain number of ticks you need. You got to win the offense to avoid 3-0. And look at that statistic. Back in May versus Minnesota, the last time Atlanta was swept. It doesn't happen often, but whenever it does, it's always special, like a solar eclipse of some sort. But Atlanta do get on over towards A. First tick of progress is on the way. Key gunfight here. Celium takes the dub on it. And now Minnesota are going to be a little bit stressed on trying to stop the A zone from going over rapidly.
Yeah, it's not popping dead silence. He's making a lot of noise up here and doesn't even look at him until it's too late. Celium now forced to try to reposition, take the gunfight over by the stairs, and won't be able to get the trade onto Bance. Now Bance in this top mass position, excruciating for Atlanta to deal with. Drops back down on a 4 spree.
Bance is just in that zone right now. Rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. Team shots coming through. Atlanta down to 50 seconds. Life count still relatively tight, but you got to flush out Afro. Stuns his retreat and his regen. Atlanta's still stacked. Nades trying to come back in response. Oh, the gunfight is won by Abizi. A chance to turn this into some quick momentum attach. Wait a second, he just had a couple of Atlanta members walk right by him, and I don't think anyone was none the wiser. So Atlanta with the kills get onto the zone. Wall bangs from Cammy, not good enough. Second tick of progress, looking pretty solid, but Minnesota's Nades will allow him a chance to contest. Celium down low, only on 13 HP, will fall, unfortunately, for Atlanta FaZe fans, as down Minnesota. They hold the edge, and you know that watch party in Egan starting to get loud.
Yeah, either on your feet or on the edge of the seat over there in Egan. 22 seconds remaining. Atlanta FaZe, they are down in numbers, and they are being spawn trapped as well. Top mass positioning here for Afro. BZ needs to create some space.
Clock will stall. Lives dwindling down to essentially a tie game. Second ticket progress looks solid. The nades are still landing onto Sim. But as the Rocker come out of spawn, what's the call here? Do you even try it? Or do you trust your setup around B? Because Atlanta is currently all over the middle of the map. Cruz is going to get called in. That's my reaction as well, because the zone's gone. No one's going to touch us in time, but every kill is a big kill, especially when you take care of the threat in towards the fortress itself. It's a 15v12, still a minute 10 on the clock, though.
Yeah, you call him the cruise missile because at that point, if you find any elimination, like you said there, Alan, every kill is going to be a good kill because then it forces all of Atlanta FaZe back in towards the spawn trappy situation. Afro, again, he is the Atlas master. He's bottom maps yet again. You also had Bance that got cut down over by the Anvil. Again, the only player that's pushed up here for Atlanta FaZe that can cause a little bit of a ruckus and distress is going to be Abeezy.
Minnesota hard focused on trying to get the spawn trap in. Has Abeezy snuck through far enough. No one's looking for him. The kills from Slasher are good. Hold on a second there, friends. Abeezy's kill allows him to get on towards zone. Doesn't expect Afro to contest him as quickly as he was. It's 8v6. If you're Minnesota, you either kill off 30 seconds or you kill 6 lives, whichever is more convenient. Although it's hard to find convenience against Atlanta. Long-range shots from Cammy, good. Simp there for the trade. Has to turn it into something miraculous, and maybe he just does. A chance to get onto the zone. It's a 6v3. Essentially a TDM at this point, as Atlanta is off spawn, trying to get here. Now a 5v3. Could they possibly still work their way on? It's just down to Simp. Not gonna happen. Minnesota shocked the CDL world with a 3-0 sweep of Atlanta FaZe.
How about that? It hasn't happened since May, but like you said, it's something special. Afro smiling from cheek to cheek. That guy, whether it was offense or defense, he was always inside of maps. How annoying must it truly been there for Atlanta FaZe to have to always be concerned with where Afro was located at. Little fist bumps out from Bance. The Viking scream as well, I assume. I mean, I can't hear him, but it looked like he screamed pretty loud there, brother. And just the SMGs on the map, though, like Albagra Fortress, are always tasked with such a difficult one. They have to turn up and they have to be able to really show up off of the damage and the line of sights that are being held from attaching Cammy. And Bance and Afro deliver.
Yeah. I mean, that's just unexpected. Doesn't even begin to start saying it. 31 and 19 from Afro. I mean, but look at just the efficiency across the board. Assist numbers are great. Objective kill numbers are great.
Yeah.
I mean, these are things that we don't often point to, but for good reason. I mean, Afro and Attach, 5 individual objective kills. How key were they in their opening offenses? And then I don't know who's the mathematician of the squad to make the call saying, hey, we've got the kill numbers. Let's just sit and spawn. But it almost felt like it took Atlanta a while to realize, like, wait a second. Do we have the numbers? We don't have the numbers. We have to go here. But near heroics at the end for Atlanta, cut a touch short. And now all of a sudden the tectonic plates of the CDL have shifted into a way of how do you even respond or react to this? Because coming into the series, I mean, the desk was labeling it out. I think all the pick'ems were kind of in the same ballpark where you're saying, how good is Atlanta going to be? Are they a top 3, top 2, maybe the best team in this stage? And then on the other side, it was like, would Minnesota even compete? Oh, wait a second. Shoes on the opposite foot there, brother.
Yeah, again, you know, we highlighted a few players at the beginning of this. We knew we were going to get out of Afro. The guy's been frying for Minnesota since day 1 here of Modern Warfare 2's year. We needed to see more productivity out from Cammy, and that made Bance just show up even in a bigger way. And look, I'm just going to go ahead and leave you with this. Sometimes being right is a real pain in my rear end. All I said was simply, if Minnesota win map 1, they're probably going to win the series. They didn't give you a score line. It was close, but hey, there you go. There you have it.
Might change your name from Proper to Profit real fast. Again, just really humble experience. Thanks everyone for being with us. Again, big shout outs to Lando. Hope he's safe on his move and everything of the nature. But we sent things back to the desk to try to react where we couldn't. Puckett, Nameless, Allie, what do you have for us?
Minnesota Rocker causing an upset, and if you looked at the numbers, this was 3 versus 5 coming in. So one of our tighter matches on the day, but we had a little recency bias. We saw a 3-0 out of Atlanta FaZe in their previous matchup against Seattle Surge. Meanwhile, Rocker had to pull out a reverse sweep over the lowest seeded London Royal Ravens. Today, it looked like Rocker dug deep, and they pulled out all the stops. I want to start here by looking at a clip, Allie, because we were in the green room, and I asked, Allie, have you seen this spot? Nameless, have you seen this spot? Benjamin Bance. He's always got a big brain. Today, he shows us how to play from the hood.
Apologies, Minnesota. I don't think many of us in the community were familiar with your game currently. I mean, look at this spot, dude. We have not seen this at all. I haven't seen it on the timeline from challengers, and usually that's where we initially see. What are you doing?
I am Bance. I'm Batman. Sorry. That's immediately what went through my brain.
Also, looking at that search and destroy, I've been really critical of Minnesota Rocker and their offense in S&D. I think we saw some really good plays there. We saw some setups slowly towards the diner. Vance picked up the first blood on Abizi back-to-back rounds early on. He actually got first blooded 3 times throughout that, which is just that's what you have to do when you play against FaZe. What we saw when FaZe was frying, it was Abizi running at the other team, getting that first kill, opening up the map for them. They did a really good job neutralizing him, and they take that map.
Yeah, you look back to that Mercado, it was Abizi, the front man, every single time in their previous search. Today didn't go as planned for Atlanta. We got to take a look, though, at our Scuff play of the game. Minnesota star players across the board. I think Afro has to be my daily MVP, but Attach was so clutch here as well.
I think for the likes, so when it comes to Minnesota Rocker, we say Afro a lot, and it was a lot of question marks around him in the beginning of the season. But in this series, I felt like it was Vance and Cammy that really put their foot down, who came out when, some people call for a roster change when it comes to this Minnesota Rocker, and they will initially go, oh, well, maybe they don't need Vance. Maybe they don't need Cammy. They question the roster mania that happened in the offseason. And in this series, it was Vance popping the 2E. You see it right now on your feed. It was Cammy popping a 2E, popping a 3. And I think that was a really good win for Minnesota Rocker and their confidence.
Yeah, it's different when these guys win a map 1 finally, right?
Yeah.
They're 3-8 in map 1s. Their hardpoint still it wasn't horrendous, their record in hardpoint, but their map 1 was so bad. They win that, and we see the team that we thought we were going to see in Search and Destroy, and it's an entirely new performance out of them. It's a bit surprising. I got to see it a couple more times, but that's an impressive win over Atlanta.
Final question for you, and I want to address the chat here. I saw someone put in fraud alert. Is Atlanta on fraud alert, or should we be giving Minnesota props here because they're now proving they can compete with the squads we're now saying are in that top tier?
I wouldn't say Atlanta's on fraud alert. I think that this is a good performance on the side of Minnesota Rocker, right? They clutch up there at the end of that fortress. In the search and destroy, like I said, we saw some very good plays, and that would mark 2 searches now in a row because that fortress we saw versus London was similar as well. And then in control, now they've expanded their map pool. We saw they were really good at Asilo, best Asilo control team that we've had, but now it's back-to-back fortresses as well, where their defensive stands are just dominant. They had that defense versus London, where they only lost 2 people, and then we saw it again there. They're so confident in their defense that they literally just sat and spun an offense to secure that round 5. Smart plays. I can't believe it paid off. That was so risky, but I tip it. Honestly, I do.
There's more brains in COD than just the map bans. Let's bring in one of the big brains right now, all the way from the UK, now living in Minnesota. We got the big bands. How are we feeling, Benji?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. It's the first time I think me and Cam have beat them since Cold War Stage 2.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a curse for us, so I'm glad we finally overcome it.
Can you tell me a little bit about that search and destroy play? You pulled out a spot that we haven't seen yet. It's not the major. People are saying, why are you doing it in a qualifier
bread and butters,
match? How much did this series mean to you guys?
The series meant a lot for us. We've been working on a lot. We have some unfortunate map losses here and there. So we had to just come out hot and show we can actually compete against some of the best.
The biggest congratulations to overall as a squad, because I'm going to be honest, I did not expect, maybe get close, but a 3-0, really? Against Atlanta FaZe, I have to say, you guys looked so good in this series. The control play, though, I feel like everybody wanted to ask whose decision was it? Who was like, I did the math, guys, we just need to not die so we can get defense for the last round?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to take credit for it. I did say to do it, but it's obviously a thing we spoke as a team. If we're ever up, let's just not even attempt it, because they have to fly us. If they fly us and we get 4 dead, we can attempt to cap a point, but if not, there's no real need. Defense on that map is so much stronger, so we just had to secure it.
Dude, that was so risky. I was sitting there, I was like, yo, they lose this defense, man. But I want to ask you about your search and destroy bans. What I know of you and your teams in the past, you've always been phenomenal at search and destroy. I think about that Toronto Ultra team, what you guys are able to do. But so far this year with the Minnesota Rocker, search and destroy has been tough for you guys. What's been the issue? What are y'all working on?
For us, I don't know really what the problem is, but I said to my team, listen, someone else take bomb, let me go make some plays. Because I feel like we try and play a bit too one-dimensional. People don't really have to adapt much, and so we just started being a bit more of risk takers, and it paid off.
Yeah.
Vance, final question for you is, last week you guys all came down with food poisoning. This week, where did you guys eat?
What did we eat? I don't even know what we had. I think Dale had a Mexican yesterday. I had Chipotle. Marcus had
I rate
Carver.
that.
So yeah, we're eating a lot better, to be honest, than some not good fish. I do not recommend before a game day.
Yeah, don't eat fish before game day is what I learned from Benjamin Bans. Congratulations on the W, a big one over our number 3 seed, keeping you guys in the running for the top seeds going into Boston.
Thank you.
That is Bance, and that's the Rocker with a hot 3-0. It was a super Saturday, and it went fast. But this thing, well, it started off with a bang. We came in with Las Vegas taking on the Boston Breach, and we're going to walk you through all of the series on the day. This one of the best I've seen from Methods, but a great series, every map going down to the wire.
I think from what we've taken away from this series is that Boston Breach is still a very strong respawn team. It's just about finding consistency for them. And on the flip side, Vegas Legion still look good. They are still dominant in Search and Destroy. Unfortunately, weren't able to pop it to that map 5 to maybe close out the series. But Vegas Legion still a good contender heading into Boston moving forward.
Yo, can we just talk about in general today how much things got shaken up? Like the matches that we had, like Optic beats Toronto Ultra, the Boston Breach come in, they dominate the Legion and the respawns. Like, I know a lot of people were predicting Boston win this series, but still, like Vegas, it just showed they still have a lot to work on, right? Like we can't jump overboard when it comes to Vegas. And then Boston, like, if this was closer, this went like game 5 and Boston edged it out, I'd be like, whatever. But they win 3-1, so like now they're another team that can really be competing here when we get to Major 2. It just got interesting today.
Great matchups all day long. If you're looking at this series, though, what game do you want to go back and watch if you missed it all?
If you missed it, honestly, if you're a Vegas Legion fan, go back and watch that map too. If you're a Boston Breach fan, go back and watch that LSELO. Both of those were some dominant maps by both these teams.
Nero at the finish of this one. A hot streak gives Boston the win. When it came to the LA Thieves versus the London Royal Ravens, this was a big question mark for us. We got a new look from the Ravens. They bring Paul X back in the mix. Scraps is there. Trey is out. On the other side, second day with Capsidol in the lineup here for LA Thieves, filling in the shoes for Kenny, and he did a pretty darn good job. Is he the MVP for the Thieves today?
Yeah, he was, man. He really was, especially coming in like that's difficult to do, right? So he comes in, he's the hero, they get that win, and I think for LA Thieves, it just feels good, right? Like you have a substitute player, you know the odds are sort of stacked against you. Just to get that W in lieu of Kenny not being there, he's going to be back hopefully very soon, and they'll be back working on their craft to get that championship. But I kind of want to talk about London here. It might be time for them to think about going to Challengers and grabbing a couple players.
Blow it up.
I'm just being honest, right? They've struggled so much, and then just like commit to cultivating that roster in a new culture over there. It has been so tough. No roster has worked out for them, and today was no different.
You got a first look at their new lineup. They go within 8 of hardpoint, and they fall just short. I don't know if I agree with blow it up yet. I think give these guys a little bit more time, man. But the future is yours, London. We'll see what you will do leading up to Boston. If you look at this series, though, this was the banger of the day. Number 2, Toronto. Number 6 with Optic, Texas. Optic showing us they are kings of search and destroy in their previous match. Today,